What is going on, you guys? Thank y'all so much for tuning in. So this week I have the 2019 Infiniti QX50. Now this car was absolutely gorgeous, very beautiful, but it did let me down in a lot of ways. And we'll of course go over that in detail with you guys. Now, don't forget, if you enjoy this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. You can also click below and subscribe if you like cars. I get new cars to review every single week. Now, of course, in this video, I will go over the exterior, I'll go over the interior, and I'll even take it on a test drive for you guys. That way you can see how this car does on the highway. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the design language of the 2019 Infiniti QX50 is beautiful. So the front has this very imposing Infiniti signature grille. You've got your big Infiniti logo right there, bulging hood, full LED lights on this particular model. So all of them are going to have LED lights. You've got this nice cube design, which looks really nice. You have the LED accent going around that. Now, one thing I did notice that really bugs me, there is a massive gap right above both headlamps, and it's just such a prominent gap. At first I thought maybe, it's for air to go through. I'm not really sure why it's there and why it's so big, but you can see it from almost every angle, and it looks like the hood is just slightly open. It's really weird, and it bugs me a lot. I do like the wheels on here though. They are gorgeous and just achingly beautiful wheels. They're 19-inch wheels, and they have this nice gunmetal coat to them. They look gorgeous, especially from a profile view. They do a very good job of making just the whole car come together. It just gives it that very, very sharp looks that just matches the character lines going all along the car. But coming to the back, you also are going to have LED lights back there as well. They look really good, very simplistic design, but also has a really nice elegance to it. I love the way the rear tail lamps look. I just think they're very well done. Now, another thing is the key. So you have the same key as you have on any Infiniti, any Nissan product. You do have all of your lock, unlock, remote start features. So as you can see here, I am using the remote start. The lights will blink to let you know that the car has opened. And of course, getting in, you have this gorgeous sort of mocha cream colored interior. Everything looks and feels very, very high quality. You're going to have the dual screens. You've got wood, leather, blue, suede, all kinds of different textures and details, and it is just a very, very nice place to be. Over to the left, you're going to have all of your buttons as far as your lighting controls, your parking assist, all kinds of different things like that. Your steering wheel, even, all the button placement, the ergonomics are just very well thought out, very well done. Even the buttons and everything just have a very tactile feel to them. The heads-up display is fantastic. It's crystal clear in the windshield, not distracting at all, and of course it pulls up all your important information. One thing I don't like is this dial here. At first I thought it was to control the screen, but it is literally just to control the navigation, which to me seems kind of pointless. The infotainment screen is a very nice design, very sleek, very, very, I guess, minimalistic in a way. You have all of your heated and cooled seats on either side, all your climate controls, but the actual screen itself is very slow and not very responsive, which is the complete opposite of what you want when you have a touchscreen in your car. So that was a big letdown for me, just because, if I'm using a touchscreen while I'm driving, to me it's important that it has a very good feedback. Now, coming to the trunk, the liftgate does open very, very high. So if you're a tall person, you can get in easily. You even have a button that tells you how to adjust the tailgate to open to where you need it to open to. Now, coming to the back, you have, of course, carpeted lining throughout the entire back trunk area. Folding the seats down is very easy. So you can do it through the back seat, and then that's going to give you just a massive amount of trunk space. You can fit almost anything you need to in there. One downside is that the switch in the back to fold the seats down is super plasticky. It almost feels like you're going to break it, so I just don't even bother using it. Under the floor, you have a little bit of extra storage space. You aren't going to have a spare in here because you do have run flat tires, so you are just going to have to deal with that. And then underneath there, you have your Bose and your subwoofer and your amplifier. So let's go ahead and take this for a drive, guys. All right, so setting off in the 2019 Infiniti QX50. Now let's jump straight into what I like and don't like about the driving of this car. So first of all, let's talk about the motor. So this is a one-of-a-kind, first-of-its-kind motor. This is Infiniti's highly talked about VC turbo motor. The VC is going to stand for variable compression. Now this is a 2-liter inline turbocharged 4-cylinder motor that can change its compression on the fly whenever it deems necessary. So you can go from an 8-to-1 compression when you want big power, especially because this car is turbocharged, and when you're cruising on the highway, it can go all the way up to a 14-to-1 compression to get the most MPG possible. Now, it's super cool technology. It's really cool. It makes very good power. So you're making 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Those are really good numbers for this motor. And the motor on here is actually really good. It's very seamless. You, of course, cannot tell when the engine is switching compressions. It's unnoticeable. You cannot tell when it switches compression at all. All you feel is just the torque shove, and I mean, that's really it. You don't notice anything on the highway other than better fuel economy. So let's talk about the bad part about this car. And this is honestly, in my opinion, so bad that I would not buy this car because of this one thing, and that's the transmission. So Infiniti doesn't really have a transmission that will match to this motor. So they didn't want to develop a new transmission, so what they did is they found a transmission that will work with this motor, and unfortunately it's the CVT that is found in like the current Nissan Maxima. Now, I don't mind CVTs. They're okay transmissions for, you know, budget-friendly cars that get really good fuel economy figures. That's understandable, and they're really good for when you don't have a ton of power available. They make very good use of low horsepower motors just because you're able to stay in the just the meat of the power band a lot better. However, for this kind of motor, it does not pair well at all. Not to mention, this is almost a $60,000 luxury car with a CVT transmission. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And this transmission is so bad in this car that it's hard to get a smooth power application. It does not complement the motor at all. So when I get on it right now, so I'm in normal mode. So you have 3 different driving modes. You have your eco, your normal, and your sport. So if I give it a little bit of gas in normal, it takes a little bit to get it going, you know, and when it does go, there's a little bit of a delay. Now that may be turbo lag. I can't really tell, to be honest. I'm not really sure what it is. Now, when I can tell that the transmission isn't doing a very good job is when you put it into sport mode. So once you put it into sport mode, all right, I'm gonna go foot all the way down. So not only does your CVT sound like a Dyson vacuum, but this one is programmed to shift, which the shifts don't feel natural at all, especially since you have these paddle shifters. So if I push this down 1, it'll put me into my manual mode, and I can use these paddles to sort of shift. I will say the downshifts are pretty cool. They seem a little bit more realistic, but when I upshift, the sound it makes, it's just not a luxurious sound. When I'm spending $60,000 on a car, I don't want a vehicle that sounds like that. Now, of course, the motor doesn't really make a lot of noise. It's mostly the transmission making a bunch of noise, but it's just not a very good experience. So when I put it into eco, it's a little bit worse. So not only does it not give me a ton of feel in the pedal, there's a ton of resistance in the pedal. I guess that's to keep you from going down on the pedal too much. Here's the other crazy thing. To stay in the most economical area of the accelerator, there's a little green light over here to the left side of the gauge cluster, And what that little green light does is it indicates when you are driving economically and when you're not. So when my foot is off the pedal, it of course is just bright green, says eco. If I go 25% down on the pedal, probably less than that, it's already blinking saying that I'm getting close to not driving economically, and I'm at like less than 2,000 RPMs. I'm not really sure when you would be driving that way because I'm merging onto the highway right now and I barely have enough power to get me up to the speed limit. It's such a cool technology with this motor, so I'm confused as to why Infiniti didn't really invest into the transmission like they did the motor, because I can't really get a good feel for how this motor truly performs because of the transmission. It's like the transmission is in the way of the motor being able to do its thing. So I will say that this car gets up and goes very well. So I will say the power is obviously noticeable. So this car will move at a very quick pace. This car never feels slow. So going to the Pro Pilot Assist features, you do have sort of a, I guess a version of steering assist, which you could call it like a mild autopilot. But there's a blue button here on the steering wheel. I'm going to press that. At that point, I can just go ahead and put it on cruise control. That beep means that the car has already noticed the lines on the road. So at this point, I just have to barely keep my hand on the wheel, but to show you guys, I can take it off and just kind of let it cruise for just a few minutes. It kind of goes back and forth doing its thing, but after a while, it will beep and it'll show us an image on the screen showing your hands on the wheel, saying that you will need to keep your hands on the wheel. It'll also beep just like that, and just give it a little tug at the steering wheel and it'll go back to doing its thing. So we're coming up to a corner right here, so it's doing its thing. It's taking the corner very well, and it's a really good system. And of course you can adjust your speed right there. All of your blind spot and everything like that works really well. It's very smooth on the highway. Your blind spots on here are almost non-existent. You actually have very good visibility in this car. If you guys can see that. And your blind spot is in a weird area, so if you guys can see here, there's a light that'll show up right now. It's right over there. That's your blind spot. Kind of a weird place to put it. The screen itself is okay. You know, you have your dual screen, which once again I'm not a huge fan of. You know, it's good to have the navigation up there, but it's not like this is the best navigation. I honestly would rather use my phone, just because this kind of feels a little bit outdated, and the responsiveness and the intuitiveness of the actual infotainment system is sort of subpar. And it's so upsetting because I want this car to do so well. I want to like it so much more than I do, but I don't, and that's just my honest opinion of the car. Will say though that the Bose sound system in here is fantastic. Only downside is you can only adjust the bass and the treble. You can't really adjust anything else, which, you know, most cars in this class give you a lot more versatility when it comes to that. And once again, these are just little nitpicky things, or maybe they're big things depending on who you are and depending on what you look for in a vehicle. Another plus is that the seats are incredibly comfortable. I took an hour-long trip from Fort Worth to Dallas, and I felt no fatigue on the road. The seats are absolutely amazing, and it's almost like sitting on a couch at home. It's very, very nice. So I really hope that gives you guys a very good impression of how the Infiniti QX50 performs. Like I said, there's a lot of things going into their favor. The new technology, the styling is beautiful, the interior is gorgeous. It truly does feel like a luxury car until you get to driving it. It just doesn't have that communicative, you know, essence to it when you drive. Now, I'm not knocking this car because it doesn't feel sporty. You know, not every car in this class has to be sporty driving or quick or feel like a BMW. That's not the point of having a luxury SUV. You want it to feel luxurious. But this transmission is just the most unrefined, unluxurious feeling transmission that there is, that I've experienced in this class of cars. So with that said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. I do get new cars every single week, so be sure you guys subscribe. You can do that by clicking over to the left. Also, if you know anyone that is interested in this car, be sure to share this review with them. You can see some of my other reviews off to the right. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this review. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all take care.